Hi everybody and welcome back to the Hobby Homestead. Today I am talking about succession planting. This is a topic that a lot of people ask me questions about, so much so that I wrote an ebook on it. I'm going to walk you through a lot of what's going on in my garden right now in June for succession planting. This is our little salad bar garden, so our outdoor kitchen dining area is right behind you. This is really handy to come and grab things and make a salad on a whim. These lettuces have now been in the ground for about 6 weeks, and I'm pretty sure I started them inside, transplanted them out, but I'm having trouble remembering now. Last week, maybe a week and a half ago, I decided it was time to sow some replacements for these lettuces because they are about ready to be harvested and made into absolutely beautiful salads. So I sowed some more seeds right next to them. This is a really basic form of succession sowing where you see a quick growing crop like a lettuce or like beets or like radishes or something like that. They are growing well and you're thinking, I'm going to harvest these in the next few weeks. And then you plant more seeds of the same thing next to those so that once you've harvested that quick growing crop, its backup is already growing. And then every couple of weeks you have a harvest rather than sowing the seeds and having to wait 2 months to get a harvest. That's why I love succession sowing. I love that it means we get more food in our space, less waiting, because who wants to wait for food? This is another example. Actually, we've got kohlrabis here. These ones are maturing nicely. They're almost ready to be harvested. And then next to them are some that are coming along close behind. The nice thing about planting seeds next to existing plants that are growing up bigger and bigger is that you're making the best use of that space because you are going to harvest some of those when they get big, which opens up the space and allows those smaller plants the room to then get big. You're staggering your plantings. Oh dear, I just noticed my pear tree is really flopping here. We're trying to espalier the pear tree to match the plum tree, which you can't even see the structure because of all the leaves now and the new growth from the spring, but it's called a candelabra shape that we're going for. So we want to also make this pear into a candelabra shape. It needs some training today and some staking before I snap a branch. Typically, carrots are one that I will succession sow in that way, where I sow some seeds and then a few weeks later I'll sow another row of seeds, then a few weeks later another row. This year I'm doing more big blocks, still succession sowing, but mostly these are all going to be harvested around the same time. And then I'm going to put them into a fridge. Carrots store really, really well, either in sand, like a bucket of sand in a cold room that's actually cold enough, or you can just put them in your crisper drawer in a fridge. Luckily, we have a spare fridge that is for this kind of thing. So that's where we keep all of our carrots. These ones were sown April 8th. It is now mid-June, so they took a while to get going. We had a cold spring, kind of a dark spring, but now things are off to the races. These ones are very patchy. I sowed these May 3rd. And I can tell you also about sowing carrot seeds. There's this thing called the board trick, which is where you sow your carrot seeds and then you lay a board on top of those seeds and you check on them every week until you see them germinating, and then you can take the board off. That holds the moisture in the soil around the seeds and they germinate so much more consistently that way. I did not do that with these here. I don't know why. I just didn't. I didn't have my board handy and I just let them go and I thought, I'll water them every day. It'll be fine. It wasn't. Same seeds, just terrible germination here. There's also, people will use like a slurry. I think it's cornstarch and something slurry that you put your seeds in. And I might try that actually next because boards in the garden just aren't as aesthetically pleasing. They're very, very functional for this purpose, but laying a big piece of wood down on the garden bed, maybe there's a prettier way to do it than that. I'm going to try the cornstarch slurry next, I think, for the carrot seeds. So anyway, carrots are a great one to succession sow. I was away for the weekend and this is my first time out to the garden since we've been back. So I'm going to be weeding a little bit distracted. Oh, clematis. Just look at this clematis. I was saying on recent videos that I don't know what kind of clematis this is and that this is a Nellie Moser. My mom corrected me and said, this is the Nellie Moser. So if you're curious and you want a clematis that is early blooming, oh wow, it's blooming inside the chicken coop. Clematises are toxic to eat, but the chickens just seem to know better. I have not had a problem with the chickens eating the clematis, even though it is growing inside their run. But it's beautiful. How lucky, the chickens have beautiful flowers inside their run. And then we've got these giant alliums, which I also love very, very much. The giant alliums were a gift to myself back when I was a grad student and I had literally no money. I wanted giant alliums so badly and I splurged. I spent $20 on one a bulb for the giant allium. And then over the years, it divided. I lost a year when we moved because I kept it in a pot and a couple of them died off, but what survived is here. So from that one $20 bulb, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not bad. What else do we succession sow? Let me think about it here. I know that this video is about succession sowing. I made that clear. But as I am walking through my garden for the first time in 3 days, I need to stop and look at things and do things. We have some Emiko Chinese cabbage now. The stuff is growing great. It's getting huge and I'm amazed it hasn't bolted yet because it's been hot. It's been 30 degrees Celsius, so like in the 80s in Fahrenheit. And it usually likes cold weather and will bolt, but this is doing great. I use my Chinese cabbage for, oh, there's flea beetles in it. Not too many. Anyway, I use my Emiko Chinese cabbage to make kimchi, and it is awesome for that purpose. I was gonna cover this bed with insect netting, and I think I still have to. I've got kale in it. I really do not like the cabbage loopers, those green caterpillars, in my frying pan. Just don't like it. And so I do have to put the insect netting on this bed. Just have to get around to it. Oh, look. Hi, friend. You having a little sun bath, waking up for the day? So cute. Beans are another thing that are good for succession planting, particularly bush beans. Bush beans are just a smaller, sort of like dwarf variety of beans. If you're used to growing beans that climb up structures, those are pole beans. Bush beans are just short, stout little things, and they produce a lot, all within the window of a few weeks. You know, maybe 5 weeks, you get a good harvest out of them if you're lucky, and then they start to dwindle. And so you have to kind of keep on top of sowing bean seeds if you want bush beans all season long. I like to grow bush beans and pole beans in the garden, but if I were just doing bush beans, I would probably sow them every 3 weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and sow them up to 3 times in a growing season. It's a little late to get this on. Really, with insect netting, it's best to use it preventatively. So before you see the pests on your plants and in your soil, because I am effectively trapping what's in here. But I did see a little native pink ladybug in here. And I think they might eat flea beetles. They eat small things, they eat aphids, so why not? So maybe it'll have some work to do in here under this netting. So those are some good options for succession sowing the same crop, just stagger it timing wise. There's also the possibility to grow different crops in successions with each other. Sometimes this is called interplanting, but it's more than just planting a bunch of things together in the same space. It's also about considering the timing that things take to grow and making sure that you're making the best use of that space at any given time. So for example, over here I had radishes planted and we just harvested those and I immediately sowed beets and they are already germinating. There are still a couple of radishes that hadn't yet finished growing, so I left those in, but I didn't want to wait any longer, so went ahead and sowed the beets. There's a couple of radishes here too, but these look like they'll go to seed. And then in this same bed, we have tomatoes planted along the trellis. If you grow vertically, if you grow certain plants vertically, like tomatoes or climbing beans or climbing peas or cucumbers, things that you can easily trellis upwards, then all of that ground space around those plants, you can plant other things. You can interplant species of plants together to make the best use of that space. Some of my favorite things for planting around the base of those climbing plants include lettuces and radishes and some choys, the leafy greens. They tend to have shallower roots, so you can push them close to those taller climbing plants. You can also do a lot of herbs. So between my tomatoes, I often will do either basil or marigolds. Onions are another good one. I don't grow a lot of onions because we don't eat a lot of onions, but they are great for interplanting and planting up next to things that may have larger root systems. We have some onions in this bed here. I really typically do not grow onions. I don't start them from seed because we don't eat enough of them to warrant growing them. But my mom had extra sets this year, so I just slammed a bunch of sets into the ground, and they are interplanted here with some zinnias for beauty. But then also parsnips are sown here. The parsnips have deep, straight roots, and so do the tomatoes next to them. They're trellised upwards, and the onions will be totally fine, not really competing because they'll be at different levels of the soil. So this is the ebook. I printed some for sale at different talks that I give in town, just like local events where I might have a table, but mostly it's just an ebook. And I pulled it out because I want to keep myself on track here. I tend to get so scattered when I'm walking through the garden, especially when I haven't been in it in a couple of days. It's hard for me to stay on track. So we talked about same crop staggered planting timing, which is where you would do lettuces or carrots or radishes or whatever it is, bush beans, that you sow some, and then in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks you sow more, and you keep doing that so you get more and more harvest throughout the season. It's always coming on fresh. And we talked a bit about interplanting, which is the idea of squeezing things in next to each other that just go well together in terms of root size or water requirements, so they're not competing right at the same level, and you could just fit more into a space like that. So it's not strictly succession planting, but it is very similar in what we're trying to achieve, which is more food and less space in a quicker time frame. Now there's something else that's kind of in between those two, the same crop staggered planting and then the interplanting of a bunch of different things, and that is planting different crops with staggered timing. This is a great way to maximize space when you're dealing with things that have a limited growing time. So things like the bush beans that will produce for maybe 5 or 6 weeks and then they're pretty much kaput. Peas in my area, they turn to brown crispiness by middle of July. And so after that point, we need to have something else to go in that space. Garlic is another really good example because garlic is harvested for us, it's the middle of July again. And then you're left with potentially an entire big empty bed, depending on how much garlic you grow, and a somewhat limited amount of time to grow something in. And so I am a big planner, and this is where planning really comes in handy. I will be sowing seeds now, some already started, for those spaces. There are certain plants that like it cool to germinate, things like your brassicas, so cauliflowers, cabbages, broccolis, kale, things like that don't want to be direct seeded out in the garden in the middle of July because it's just too hot and dry for them. So I'm pre-starting things, and then I'll have seedlings just like I do in late winter, early spring that I can bring outside and transplant when things like the peas are dead and the garlic has been harvested. So that's growing different crops with staggered timing or staggered planting. I can show you some of the seedlings we have coming up now, which look like little specks. There's really not much up yet, but today I just saw for the first time some Green Magic broccoli is coming up right here. So we'll have more broccolis to go into the garden once we've done our spring harvest or midsummer harvest. I say spring because it was a spring planting. And then basils. Basil actually is a great one to succession sow, like same crop, staggered timing, and you don't have to start them inside or in a pot. You could direct sow them in your garden, but you have to keep that soil watered every day in the heat of the summer or they won't germinate. I have the best luck starting seeds for the summer garden inside, just like I do starting seeds through the winter for the spring garden. I start seeds for the summer and fall inside at this time of year in June. Basil is such a good one because basil has a tendency to bolt. A lot of varieties do anyway. There are some that last longer as just the nice leafy green basil leaves, but they want to send up that flower stalk and make flowers and make seeds. And so you usually get a good couple of months out of basil plants, and then it gets really hot and then they bolt, they go to seed. And when basil bolts, it's just not as tasty anymore. The leaves lose their nice gentle basil flavor and they get harsher, a little bit bitter. So by starting basil plants every month or so, you can keep your basil fresh and young. Those young plants produce the best leaves, and it keeps the harvest coming on for a lot longer in the season. And I like to have basil when my big tomatoes are ripe. And if I start basil plants in the garden for spring, then by the time my big tomatoes are ripe, the basil has all bolted. So I definitely need to stagger planting of that one so that I have basil leaves to pair with my tomatoes for caprese salads. This is our little free garden. It's a little community initiative. I just want people to be able to harvest because I want to share the joy that I get from harvesting food. And people have not been harvesting. Come on, neighbors, come and pick some food. Our salad greens here have been just beautiful in their prime, and they are starting to bolt. They are starting to go to seed, which means it's time to pull some of these out because they're just not good anymore. Now, I could leave some to go to seed, and then maybe people could collect lettuce seed from them. I may leave one just for show, but I have actually planted bean seeds amongst these lettuce plants, knowing that their life would be coming to an end soon. I wanted something else coming up in their place. This is going to go to the chickens. So I salvaged this much lettuce, which is a lot of lettuce considering our back gardens are also full of them. I may have to just go around to some neighbors I know and knock on doors and see if they want it already harvested. I also have a pile of lettuce that I just didn't feel like sorting into the bowl. So this is all going to the chickens who will be happier for it and turn it into eggs. And you may be able to see here, I have already planted some beans. These are a very, very tiny variety of bean. I think they're called mascot, and they're meant for containers. So they're gonna be great in this bed coming up between the lettuce. That is a succession of different crops, succession in timing only. Because I'd never grown these beans before, they're very tiny, didn't realize how small they'd be. They're meant for containers, which makes sense, they'd be small. So I'm gonna throw a little bit more of the mascot bean in here. The last thing you have to consider when you are succession sowing is the season in which you are growing. So succession sowing lettuce is great to do in the spring early on, but then you're going to want to transition to things that like it hot. So beans are a much better option. We can succession sow our bush beans and they're going to be happier in the summer, and the lettuce would just fry anyway. So you might as well use the space for something that'll be happy there. The only other thing I want to say about succession sowing before I let you go to just succession sow to your heart's content in your own growing space is that you have to have good soil to really make this work. And by good, I mean full of nutrients and able to hold on to water to a reasonable extent. So, you know, good garden soil, good potting mix, good triple mix with some compost added. Purchase something or build your soil up so that you know there's nutrients in there, you know there's lots of organic matter. You know, on seed packets where they'll give you spacing, they'll say like plant these 12 inches apart in rows that are 18 inches apart, for example. That's ludicrous in the home garden for a lot of plants because we don't have as much space as they do on farms and big fields. So we've learned to cram things closer together. So for a lot of those recommendations on seed packages, you can really ignore those or really crunch them down to smaller amounts of spacing between plants if you have the soil to support that. If you have lots of organic matter, if your soil is able to hold on to water, when you water it doesn't dry out easily, you're going to have less competition between plants and you're going to be able to grow more plants closer together. So that is really an important caveat if you want to do this kind of high intensity succession planting, just expecting so much of a garden space, expecting it to keep producing and keep producing. You have to do something to feed that soil in the first place. If you succession sow things at home, I would love to know your favorite things to succession sow, your favorite crops, and how you do it, what your timeline is, what your strategy is. Do you interplant things? Do you succession sow things on a certain schedule? What works the best for you? And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more gardening content like this, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope that you'll come and grow with us.